Speaking during public participation, or if you're a delegation. We normally are in our council chambers, and we're moving, and the office is closed over the next 2 days for that move. So welcome. This is our maiden voyage together in this interim facility, and we'd like to thank the West Vancouver School District and the school itself, and our janitor for being so gracious and having us here this evening. So if I could ask Council to please move approval of the agenda. Councillor Ronsley and Councillor McLaughlin. Any changes, additions, deletions? There being none, call question on the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. If we can move along to public participation, and this is a time in the meeting. There being none? Pardon me?
There being none.
There being none? Okay, thank you very much. If I can move right into delegations, and Mr. Owen Finn, a request for a letter of support for opposition to the LNG facility. If you'd like to maybe stand, and I don't know if you want to move the chair in front of you, but please, oh, you've got the presentation right there. So, Owen, it's a 10-minute delegation presentation time, as you're well informed, I know, but just so that the gallery is as well. And thank you. Mr. Finn, and please welcome to Lions Bay.
That's how it's spelled. It's just pronounced. Councillors, thank you for the invitation to address you tonight. Audience, thank you. My subject is the banning LNG tankers in the Sailor Sea. Just a little bit about me. I'm retired. I finished 25 years in the business world as a partner in the accounting firm at KPMG. I do have another background in science with a few degrees, more than your average thermometer. The background to this is we are all who live in House Sound. I have a cottage on Ward Island and have had for almost 30 years. We're threatened by an LNG plant in wood fibre, which is to produce some 2 million tons of LNG each year, to have tankers roll up and down House Sound, an enclosed airspace and waterway, much loved by boaters and recreational folks of all kinds. In 2008, there was a similar move in Texada Island to have an import facility for LNG. The one in wood fibre is an export one. But in 2008, the Union of BC Municipalities passed a resolution, and I believe this municipality voted for it, that basically that it be resolved that the Union urged the federal government to ban the passage of LNG tankers in the waters of Malaspina, Georgia, Guandafuque, and Harbour Straits of Boundary Pass, effectively locking out LNG tankers from flying these waters. It didn't mention House Sound, particularly because the House Sound import-export facility was now agreed. That resolution passed. Clearly, the municipalities and regional districts had no authority over the use of the ocean. The federal government does. But it was a clear indication that these municipalities bounding the Sailor Sea did not approve of this, for much the same reasons as many people, myself included, do not favor the use of House Sound as an LNG liquefaction facility and export terminal. The ship traffic in the Straits right now is pretty crowded. You can see the Squamish is here, and that the path to the ocean will traverse there. This is a picture taken from a public website, shows you where all these ships are, taken about a month ago. The red dots going that are actually oil tankers coming from Anacortes, and there's a few currently coming from Vancouver. This is pretty dramatically busy, particularly in around the Harrow Strait there, about there, where the ships have to make a right-hand starboard turn and then a sharp port turn to the left to get through. And that traffic is increasing hugely, especially if the fossil fuel traffic that's proposed is going to increase. This is the going from 60 dilbit tankers to about 400 tankers. loads a year for the Kinder Morgan proposed pipeline. LNG tankers 40 would go up and down the Sound, mainly in the busy recreational months of summer when the gas supply would be available. This is the wood fiber LNG. Coal carriers from the West Shore Delta Port expansion would increase that, as would coal carriers from the Gateway Pacific Cherry Point, Washington proposed facility, a huge increase. This basically is about a 312% increase in this particular kind of traffic added to the whole container traffic increase and bulk goods, not even counting the current port in Squamish. This would greatly increase the collision and spill hazards in the strait. Collision and spill hazards are rather important when it comes to LNG, which is a very flammable gas. It burns about 2,000 degrees and let out of a container would cause great problems. The spill risk, this is a Washington study promoted by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency that says the spill risk would go up because of the increased traffic and ships passing each other in dangerous rocks by about factor of 5. It's already pretty high, and the background here, by the way, is an LNG tanker that 3 months ago whacked into a container ship off Singapore and didn't catch fire. It was lucky because they were both going in the same direction. The wood fiber LNG in the new Fortis pipeline. That Fortis pipeline is going to run up the back here, behind the lines, up the valley, down into Squamish, where it will have a big compressor station smack dab in the middle of Squamish, across the river, and run along the side of the mountain towards wood fiber. These little circles are hazard circles, and they are the result of a study done in Washington, which was occasioned by the 9/11 tragedy and the fact that right smack dab in the middle of Boston Harbor is a great big LNG import facility. And they were very worried about, well, if you put a hole in the side of a tanker, of an LNG tanker, what happens? Well, it turns out that the kill radius is about 1.6 kilometers on either side of the tanker. The total right-of-way that's required is represented by these circles, and that's about 3.2 kilometers, and the Sound is about 3.2 kilometers wide in a whole pile of places, indicated by these dotted circles. So I tried to indicate the passage of the tanker from wood fiber out through the strait, and the various places, including West Van Horseshoe Bay, around here between Anvil and the mainland, several places, Canyon Beach, etc., who would be impacted. Put a hole in the side of these, depending on where the wind blows, this can be a very lethal place to be in. There are, of course, other projects running river and incinerators and things planned. The wood fiber LNG in Howe Sound is going to be supplied by a new 20-inch Fortis pipeline, as I showed you. They've actually indicated they're going to increase that to 24 inches. It would run from Coquitlam through Squamish to wood fiber. There's an existing 10-inch pipe that serves Vancouver Island. It should be operational by 2017 if they have their way. Up to 2.4 million tons annually. It's for the Asian market. It would consist of a floating plant and a storage tanker. And to get the size of a floating plant, this is the size of a transshipment tanker, about 60,000 tons of LNG aboard this thing. And it's twice as big, twice as wide, twice as long as the biggest BC ferry. So these are big ships. The bulbs are essentially large thermos bottles. To put it next to the liquefaction plant, you can see the tanker here, the BC ferry represented here, and this is how big they are. They are big and they are lethal. Each one of the tankers has the power of 70 Hiroshima-sized atomic bombs. The wood fiber LNG is not a convincing business case. About 100 full-time jobs in Squamish, some limited property taxes, some indirect service jobs, maybe about the same. Some fracking jobs in BC Northeast. But they're mainly cons. Few local employees, mostly would be temporary foreign workers. We think because of the requirements for specialty trades, losses to the recreation-based tourism industry, not the least of which is exemplified by the opening of the gondola last Friday, which has about the same number of jobs as the proposed plan. Damage to the local environment, particularly the noise effects on the cetaceans or marine mammals of having a thumping great LNG liquefaction plant floating on the water in northern Howe Sound. It's not going to be a good effect. It might turn it back into a marine desert. Damage to the northeast, little or no corporate taxes, because this company is structured not to pay any taxes. It would pay taxes probably in Singapore where it is registered, but not to BC. It would build the liquefaction plant overseas and ship it in. Lack of insurance coverage, and then those exclusion zones I pointed out for boaters. Public subsidies of electricity. Large industrial concerns get electricity at about 4 cents a kilowatt hour. You and I pay upwards of 10. We asked that a resolution that you basically rewrite that original 2008 to include Howe Sound and then ship it off to the federal government. I have an article of interest that back in the East Coast when a proposal came up there for a tanker route which went through Canadian waters into US waters. The number one objector who objected to having that happen was none other than Mr. Stephen Harper. So it is tides turned. Thank you very much, and I hope you accept the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Finn. If I can just ask council if they have any questions. Just Mr. Finn is asking us for a resolution of support. What I'd like to highlight for those who are gathered and to council and staff is that the resolution that we passed previously is in concert with the resolution that you're requesting this evening, Mr. Finn, and was sent off as part of our village commitment in reviewing this and sending off our comments of opposition regarding our concern about the safety of LNG tankers. So it's with that note that I would like to ask council if they can. I'm just trying to see here if we've got the resolution maybe on the last page here. Page. Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor McLaughlin. And to put forward a resolution, I just, it was noted to me today that a humpback whale was seen this last weekend actually behind Boyer Island, so behind meaning not behind, on the west side of Boyer Island. And it was noted to me by a recent North Shore mayor in the last couple of weeks that, so I'm just wanting council to be aware of this, that and this was with a seaman in the family, that the only seamen that work on LNG tankers, despite the money, are ones that don't have many other choices because the seepage leads to death, just because it's minus about 270 degrees Fahrenheit. But yeah, isn't that interesting? I think you're familiar with that, Mayor. So that's that was very interesting with a knowledgeable seaman, practicing seaman in the family. So let me just ask if council, if I could have council support this resolution, which is very similar. What it has differently from our previous resolution is it does name the travel pattern, which we did not have the knowledge of at that time, and we're asking for the travel pattern of the tankers at that time. So if I could call upon council to move and second.
I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Ronsley, and second, Councillor McLaughlin. Any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you to everybody for not only attending, but for being such avid supporters of the work that's been conducted on the environmental health of How Sound over decades, and it's like a tag team that you may have been involved for decades or for a week or a month, but it's really been helpful. So I thank you. We did not approach Mr. Finn. We thank you for approaching us. And I note in our minutes that we were asked during the last meeting what former council member Ruth Simon's involvement was in the How Sound Community Forum, and it was an opportunity to explain that and to thank former council member Ruth Simons, who is the volunteer executive director of Future of How Sound. So I thank you all for all of your efforts there. If I may, with council's permission, move on to the next delegation, and it's Glenn Dennison. There's Glenn. I was going to say I don't see Glenn here, and I know that he would be here. Welcome, Glenn, and maybe by way of just an introduction, again, council did not have anything to do with the coordination or invitation of our presenters this evening, but it's my pleasure to speak highly of Mr. Dennison, who staff wouldn't be familiar with, and possibly some council members, as having written a very acclaimed book on the marine life of How Sound, and is a long-term Lions Bay resident. Mr. Dennison, thank you for joining us this evening. And again, it will be 10 minutes and
I'll be shorter than 10
Thank
minutes.
you.
Really quick. I'm sorry I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but Ruth is going to help us all. What I'm coming in front of you for is a support letter, and what I've been involved with is a last sponge in How Sound, and I'm working also with the DFO in their initiative to protect the money in How Sound and Fourth Street. And one of the areas that was missed off of it was Health at Point. There's a large sponge bioherm there and a sponge garden side by side. This is actually unique in the world. There's nowhere else in the world that we actually know the two ecosystems living side by side. Now, to protect it, what we've suggested to BC Parks is to expand the park into the benthic zone, which is the red outline here. And again, I'm sorry, it's a little bit small for a big area like this. Previously, it was along the foreshore here, and it followed this black line. BC Parks is in full agreement to expand it, but they've asked me to get a letter from the Lions Bay Village Council to do so. And this is what the sponge looks like down there. These are actually filter feeders. They stand about 3 to 4 feet tall, and they cover the bottom, 100% coverage in this area.
Beautiful.
Any questions?
Thank you. Council, any questions? Okay.
Actually,
yes.
So,
Councillor
Park,
McLaughlin.
thank you, Mayor. So BC Parks is encouraging you to do this?
Yeah, BC Parks has actually asked me to ask for a letter of support from the Lions Bay Council. So they actually pointed right at Lions Bay as being the only council in How Sound that they wanted this from, which was quite interesting. So I immediately jumped in there for this.
Okay.
Is there any questions on sponges at all?
Any other questions?
I haven't really done a background on sponges, so we got 10 minutes.
When were they discovered?
They were discovered, actually, I discovered them roughly 17 years ago, and I made them public about 3 years ago.
You wanted to keep them to yourself?
Well, I wasn't quite sure what to do with it for the longest time, and I didn't really understand the full implications of the sponge bioherms there. And it wasn't until I actually was sitting down with the chief scientist at the Vancouver Aquarium, Dr. Jeff Marlioff, and he showed me his latest paper that we realized what we had out there. He didn't realize that they were down there. I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was, although I've been on the site many times. Yeah. That's actually an excellent question, and it's a question that about a year ago that I started to look into, and I think the short answer to that is no. The noise itself won't hurt it, but the pressure wave may affect the sponge. The sponge actually is an entire organism across a large area like this, and it talks from one edge to the other edge. There's actually electrical conduction across the sponge, so if you pump it, it will stop feeding. And if you get a large pressure wave, it may shut down and stop its feeding.
What about the gravel pit that goes down? What effect would that have?
I don't think it'll have much effect on the sponge at all. But then again, you know, we have, again, large propellers with pressure waves right next to the sponge. It definitely will affect it. The sponge is actually very fragile. They're like Chinese shrimp chips, if you know what that's like. If you can break it, it's still, it's not very strong.
The National Geographic front page article that said sponges were particularly sensitive to siltation. So I much the same question with the McNabb, post-McNabb great gravel mine siltation.
Yeah, that's correct. They are. As a matter of fact, I found that site for that story for them. That's on Owl Reef, which is out around the front of West Vancouver. You know, they are very sensitive to siltation, and what happens is they get clogged up, they shut down their feeding, and they cough. They actually cough in about 15 to 20 minute period. They back flush. Because the filter feeders that suck in from the sides with little flagellum cells with the tails into micro channels, and they vent out to the top there. So if you get a lot of extra siltation on the sponge, it can kill it. And there's been sites that are biohorns in-house down that are completely wiped out by the siltation. In my estimate, Ellesmere Creek is one of them. It's completely flattened. How deep on that? The sponge garden itself, which is the bottom picture here, is at 78 feet, and the bioherm, which is on the flat gravel pan beside it, is 103 feet.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there one more question? Okay. If I can just maybe say that what Mr. Dennison has also noted, and very modestly perhaps, or not noted, but I'd just like to say that the Vancouver Aquarium Marine Life Sanctuary Society is in support of this proposal. And I know a great deal of work has been done. And I just want to clarify, Mr. Dennison, that your question is for a letter of support for the BC Parks to extend their marine parkway at Hellcat Bay Provincial Park on Gambier Island in Howe Sound to include the glass sponge area at Hellcat Bay.
That's correct, yes.
Is that correct? Did you get that, Linda? Okay.
Termed exactly like that, Glenn?
Yeah, that will do the job.
Okay.
Okay. If I can I'll take another stab at it, and if, but just to ask council at this point, again, to have recovery concurrently on the agenda is quite exciting and informative. If I can ask council its pleasure for me to put forward the motion and then to see if there's a mover and a seconder for it, that the Village of Lions Bay Council support the extension of the Marine Life Park in Howe Sound around Gambier Island to include the Hellcat Bay Provincial, it's the extension, is it? If I read the first paragraph, am I in pretty good shape? That the Lions Bay Council support the extension of the Hellcat Bay Provincial Park on Gambier Island in Howe Sound, which was established in 1998 and includes some 1988, thank you very much, Councillor Ronsley, and includes some 290 hectares of upland and 19 hectares of foreshore on the western portion of the bay, and that Lions Bay supports the inclusion of an additional, is there an additional?
We would call it the benthic zone.
The bent?
Yeah, the benthic zone that extends over the Hellcat Peninsula.
The BENTHICK zone that extends, IC, pardon me, no K, zone that extends over the
Hellcat Pinnacle.
The Hellcat Pinnacle. Okay, thank you. Do I have a mover? Thank you very much, Councillor Ando, and a seconder, Councillor Ronsley. Any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Now, what I'd like to ask of you, Mr. Dennison, is could you provide myself and Mr. McGradu with the address, the contact person, and the proper name of the organization? Thank you so much.
I'll provide that to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I just must thank you for all of the dedicated service to all of us sitting in this room and around Howe Sound, British Columbia, and Canada for the work that you're doing on knowing about and preserving marine life in Howe Sound. Thank you very much. If I may then take us to the next portion of the agenda, have Council move adoption of the minutes of May 6th. Could I have Council move and second? Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Ando. Any changes, additions, deletions? Yes, Councillor Ronsley.
Little details, not to be too picky. On the first page, 3A, last line, Dr. Broughton added that all of the residents value, eliminate R. And I think I found something else. Page 16, second paragraph, second line. Councillor Ronsley also noted the native plant, PLANT garden group is organizing. Next line, in the hope to raise money for garden supplies. Thank you very much.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, one little other thing I picked up. Page 19, number 13, the last paragraph, the second last line. Instead of the also occurs, I believe it should be this also occurs.
Okay, anything else? Any other changes? Councillor Ando?
Page 7 of 8 of the minutes, or 19 of 120. The last paragraph, under public questions and comments, I arrived at 8:16, which is fine, but I don't recall Dr. Broughton talking about snow plowing.
I was not
I know,
here.
you weren't there.
I just
I know
want to
that.
make it clear.
Sure,
I was
yeah,
out of the room.
Which page? This three.
Page
Yes.
7 of 8. I believe that he
Page
spoke
19
about
of 20.
Page 19 of
Are
20.
you at 18?
19 of
19
20.
of 120.
19, okay. Yep.
The time is correct. That's when I arrived, and I believe that he spoke about trees on Isleview.
Thank you very much.
I'll
Maybe I
I'll
can just
check the-
interrupt this for a
Okay.
moment to let people know that it is not impolite for you to leave at this time if that suits the interest that brought you here. So please feel free to excuse yourself, and thank you very much for attending. Thank you, Glenn.
Do you want to table the
Page
minutes?
19.
Oh, we can table, I can check
We'll just table the minutes then.
the,
Can that be
I can
checked?
check the recorder.
Thank you.
Anything else, Councillor Ando?
Actually, he's here, we can ask him, but I'll check the recorder.
Okay.
No.
Okay, if I can, and I'll be very quick, and they're very picky, but page 13 of 120. Number 2, second to last line, Lions Bay, Lions.
Sorry, where
First page.
First page, I'm sorry, be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay, L-I, it's one of those things that, might be. Page 15 of 120, A, paragraph 2, the large middle paragraph, second to last large line, all parties acknowledged there was. Page 15, just right here. These are just minor things, but because it's up on the,
there was, okay.
yeah. The last paragraph, Mayor Broughton provided update on the highlights of her report. Mayor Broughton advised that the BC Mayor's Caucus had, and if we can remove, with Council's permission, seen lots of discussion about, and replace that phrase with that the BC Mayor's Caucus had confirmed the importance of, then sustainable funding, and then add for municipalities identified this as a priority.
Can you give it to me?
Okay, yeah. I will. There we go. And again, because it's something, page 18, D, Lions Bay, B-A-Y, and number 11, Lions, L-I-O-N-S. And then item 1, first line, last 4 words, if they could all begin with a capital, revised principles for cooperation.
I apologize.
It's item, number 11, item 1. That's fine. The first line, the last 4 words, revised principles for cooperation, just all capitals. Item 6, if we can add at the end by Metro Vancouver. So the mayor advised, etc., and the consultation process has subsequently been cancelled by Metro Vancouver, just so that the reader understands how that occurred. And that is everything. If I can call, are there any other changes or just call question on the motion?
No, we're going to table it.
Oh, we'll table it? Okay, so my
I'll
apologies.
just-
So
yeah,
with the
I'll check
tabling
that.
motion, could I have a mover and seconder to table? Thank you. Councillor Ando, Councillor McLaughlin. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If I can just under business arising, just the June 3rd date, do you want to deal with that now, whether we go ahead with that, or do you want?
We'll have to
Okay,
talk
later,
about it.
okay, no problem.
But under unfinished business.
Unfinished business?
Right.
Yes, Mr. McGratty.
Madam Mayor, I've been having correspondence, email correspondence with Ms. Public Cover, and we've been exchanging emails for the last little while. And what I'd like to do is ask council to amend the April 15th minutes. The April 15th minutes, it quotes her as saying, Ms. Public Cover expressed her deep concern over recent tree cutting on her property without her permission. In conversations back and forth with Ms. Public Cover, I would recommend that that be deleted, and that the wording, I think it's been handed out, is that Ms. Public Cover expressed her deep concern over recent tree cutting and the stability of the slope adjacent to her property. I think that perhaps more accurately describes what she said. So that's the first one. And then the second one is on the minutes, and it's a comment that was attributed to Mr. Public Cover. And it says, Mr. Public Cover explained the extent of the tree cutting that had occurred on his property without his permission. I think in discussions with Ms. Public Cover, the change should say, Mr. Public Cover explained the extent of the tree cutting and expressed his concern over the potential for induced bank erosion. So if council's willing, I would certainly request that those changes be made.
Okay, does that involve the amendment to bring forward a resolution to amend so that the Village of Lions Bay Council resolves to amend the April 15th minutes as per outlined in the document on table and by Mr. McGratty, interim CAO? I have a mover, Councillor Ronsley and Councillor McLaughlin. Any discussion? Call question on the motion. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Anything further?
Not from that.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
If we can go on then to report, I'm sorry, Councillor Ander.
I have a question with regards to that same issue and that same area of the minutes. When it says a copy of Mrs. Public Cover's comments is retained with the agenda package, is it then uploaded onto the website or how is it retained with the agenda package? So if somebody wanted to, because we capture the essence of what she said, but if somebody wanted to hear or read what she actually said because they provided it, how would they be able to see that? Do they have to come into the office, or do we add it to the agenda package and then provide it that way?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's a question I can't answer at this point in time. We can certainly, if it's handed out, I'm not sure if Ms. Kuntz actually scans it and attaches it. That's something I haven't checked, but I can certainly look at it. The other part, though, and we're going to be talking about the procedure bylaw later on, is that it's becoming increasingly difficult to capture the essence of what people are saying. And so what I'd like to do is have a conversation with council at a future date about what the minutes should capture. And if people hand out documents at the meetings, then those are attached to the agenda. But I'll bring that forward at a later date.
Okay,
But I will check on that and respond.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Let's proceed then to move receipt of the reports. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin and Councillor Ronsley. All those in favor of receipt? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then to the interim CAO's report. And yes.
Madam Mayor, we're in this hall, or in this gymnasium, because the office is full of boxes, and we're packing up. Mandy is there as we speak now. Everything is being taken and put into boxes. The boxes are going to be moved to the various locations tomorrow morning and on Thursday. We hope to reopen Friday, if not for sure on Monday. There is a lot of, no move goes smoothly, but it's going fairly well right now. So we have to move a number of filing cabinets and all of correspondence up to the third floor in the Clack building. Some of the public material is going to go into the temporary trailer, and there will be a sign with the municipal crest and the office hours covering the bulldog. We can't screw anything onto that, so it's a temporary sign. We will then take a number of the other material and put it into the works yard trailer for temporary storage. And depending on whether we have sufficient space, we may be moving things around within the building itself at various times over the next couple of months. So the move is moving along. We just ask for everybody's patience. Our keenest desire is that every box is labeled correctly and that we've got things in it, because they are going to be moving all over the place. Council has set Tuesday, June 17th and Tuesday, June 22nd. There may be, and obviously, requirements for other council meetings, and one of the original meetings was for Tuesday the 3rd, which has been canceled. Depending on, once I chat with the mayor, there may be a requirement to have another meeting. We've now got approval from the school district to use this site in July, if necessary. The other part is Marjorie's Meadows has been closed because of the big container that we're using to, or the roofers, DMC, are using to take all the material off the roof. It's moving along, and you can see that it's moving hopefully within the schedule that we've talked about. The bylaw enforcement officer has started, moved along, and I think he's had some conversations with the various people in the community. The no parking signs, I've had a long discussion with the fire chief regarding the no parking signs, and the ones that have been, the 6 that have been put up, have been covered, and we're going to have a discussion with council later on and the community about other locations that the fire chief deems necessary, and also areas that the parking committee a long time ago talked about. A communication survey is now, I think, gone live.
Yes,
I think it's gone live as of today, so that's great. We'll see how that moves forward. And you've got the audited financial statements going forward. And council and staff and Councillor McLaughlin attended a Bear Smart training program last week, and that's about it.
Okay.
Keeping us busy.
Thank you. Yes.
Electronics down from Wednesday to Friday?
Tomorrow they will be. We're hoping by late tomorrow afternoon, but tomorrow they're going to be most likely down
Yeah.
until we move everything. We've got Sea to Sky scheduled. It's just a matter of whether there's no hiccups.
Great. Maybe I'd just like to say, you know, I found moving so challenging. I did my master's thesis on moving, and certainly discovered that really, I mean, every move is an intense move. So I don't say this lightly at all, that I want to thank all of staff for the profound effort and energy that a move takes, not only in planning, but actually completing the move and then resolving the move and getting things on track again. So I just, if you could, on behalf of, I'm sure I see nodding around the table, on behalf of Mayor and Council, just how we haven't been called on at all. It's been quite amazing and impressive, I must say.
Madam Mayor, I thank you, and I'll certainly pass that on to Susan, who's sitting back there.
Yeah.
One of the challenges is that moving is very expensive. I didn't realize how expensive it was. And when we went out for call for proposals, it was much more than what we expected. And it was through staff's ability to negotiate with the moving company and the amount of work that staff are taking on themselves to make this move work within the budget.
Thank you very much, and certainly we'll want to be sensitive to the other side of it, preparing for the moving, and then the other side, which is settling in. So thank you so much. I just have a couple of things to report. There's been lots going on, and Council is ongoingly has met regarding land use master planning, and just want to say what a great community we have. I met with the Girl Guides and had an opportunity to meet with the Brownies en route to the Girl Guides. And just that because the community center has been closed for this period of time, we haven't seen what a hive of activity goes on within our wonderful community on a regular and daily basis. And I just want to acknowledge that it's just wonderful to see that in the works. So thank you very much. And if I can go on to Councillor Ronsley, I know I do this differently every time, but Councillor Ronsley, I see your report in the binder.
I don't really have much to add. I've been going to a lot of meetings, as it indicates. There is a correction I'd like to make. There weren't 70 resolutions at the LMG conference. There were 30-some that were undertaken and considered, and some of the outstanding ones relevant to our community I've highlighted. I'd like to say at the North Shore Congress that I attended, it was really outstanding in many regards and very relevant to us. The need, we have a large proportion of seniors in our community, and seniors are very used to behaving in a certain way, and the importance of educating our seniors that you can walk. You know, you don't have to. I heard some very funny stories. You know, I always go next door and I take my car. You know, well, you know, you don't do that anymore. So I think we need to launch that kind of support to our seniors and get them on another thinking pattern. We have a difficult community to walk to and from, but in fact it's doable for very many people. And I think with the accessibility that we're working toward and all the paths, we're on the right track. The trails, we could, and I highlighted this in yellow, but it doesn't come out on our black and white. There are UBC students available, that's under May 14th, available to research needs in communities. Trails audit will indicate accessibility, and we're very conscious and committed to our trails, but we could get the seniors involved, and our professors are looking for an opportunity like this for their seniors to come out in the community. It will cost us nothing and we'll learn a great deal, and everybody gets better informed in this regard. So I'd like to suggest that to our trail individuals, I guess that would be John Dudley to begin with, that this be considered for our community. And I can give more information on that. So anyway, it's an interesting time, and we've got more things going. Bear Smart tomorrow morning. There are bears in the community. There are coyotes in the community. And I will be taking our message and our involvement to the Bear Smart, the North Shore Bear Smart Black Bear community tomorrow morning. And I've had input from our committee headed by Norma Rogers and all of them as far as bringing them up to date. So I'd like to stop talking now, and if there are any questions, I'll try very hard to answer them.
Okay. If you could, if I can, if you could sit down with John Dudley and Ron, I know Councillor McLaughlin is involved in that committee as well, but certainly this is possibly a great opportunity. You don't want to encumber the volunteers with figuring out another level of how to do this, but certainly encouraging our seniors to walk and to be how to get involved in maybe trailblazing as well.
I'll be glad to.
Yeah, thank you. I do have a couple of comments from your report that I really appreciated on Rosalind Coonan. I was very curious, as all of Council knows, what she had to say as a leading economist in Canada and a seasoned economist in Canada. And you know, it was really interesting for me. Driverless cars, aging populations, there's no surprises, but nonetheless, the kids are in Yaletown, and if you don't know that, you just need to go down to Yaletown, and there's blocks of baby buggies everywhere. And need for more ramps in terms of accessibility, and needed housing, and take a fresh look at zoning. I thought it was very good, and the looking from a council's perspective, the cost recovery for medical first responders, that there was a call to action there. So really appreciated that. So any other comments from council? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Ando?
The Infrastructure Committee met on March the 13th, and they provided some preliminary recommendations, which is included in the council package under new business, which we can discuss later. In addition to that, we reviewed Councillor McLaughlin's
The email
that was forwarded by Interim CEO McGradu to the Infrastructure Committee, and so that was discussed. The Infrastructure Committee would like, or is willing to go through the Excel spreadsheet. They would like to see staff with Mayor Broughton to go through the list and to then add 2 comments to the Excel spreadsheet, one being documentation and another column being certainty, on how certain the documentation is that a project has been completed or not completed, or whether it's fallen off and the reasons for it falling off the list or being added to the list. And then after that information has been compiled and that review has been done, then the Infrastructure Committee will meet, or would like to have a working session or a meeting. The evenings tend to be very busy and one of the members can't make it, so the resident members have agreed to come in very early on a weekday morning and do it until 2 o'clock or somewhere early afternoon to try and go through that completed list. So,
Thank you very much for that update. Did you say May 13th or March 13th? I'm just making sure. Linda had asked me to do making sure things, so
May 13th.
That's May 13th when you met. I think you did say May 13th, but I heard it as March 13th, so just wasn't sure. Okay, thank you very much. If we can then go on to Councillor McLaughlin.
Nothing to report other than that since we'll not be meeting until the second week of June, I would say that the Art in the Garden is occurring on June the 1st, and the Arts Council is the largest volunteer group in the village. And I'm sure they're going to have a sunny Sunday to showcase the yards that have been chosen, the artists and the musicians as well. That would be it for me. I've got a question for Councillor Ando on the school. Is there any development on the, what I would call, childcare situation that you documented a little bit last meeting? I mean, even if it's a baby step forward, that's fine.
They believe that they have enough kids to go with before and after school care. So they've now approached North Shore Neighborhood House to see whether they would like to be involved in some way or form. Because they didn't receive their grant funding or gaming funding in order to continue until the end of the year. So they are only continuing until June of this year. And but the play school is going to try and run that program, the before and after school care, and they hope to get help or guidance or administration through North Shore Neighborhood House. So that discussion is currently going on. There were enough responses
To the pre-registration thing?
pre-registration that warrant them to move to that next stage. So that's where they are.
Oh, that's good news.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent news. And if there's any way that we can help them lobby for the casino funds, we'd certainly be willing to help them lobby for those funds.
I will let them know that.
Yeah, thank you very much. With regard to the upcoming week, not the upcoming weekend, but that last weekend where June 1st is the Art and Garden Day for Lions Bay, the whole weekend is the free garage sale. So to invite everybody to, open up their garage onto their boulevard and let people do takeaways. So with that, if I can just say, are there any questions about the with Councillor Bain not being here, are there any questions about the fire department or the RCMP reports? Seeing none, I know that we will continue to make sure that our relationships with the province are tight and in terms of our invoicing and billing to the province for any activity on the highway. If I can move us along then to resolutions, and this is a resolution to appoint bylaw enforcement officers, and this resolution includes our building inspector and our public works manager. So if I can, it's in your package, take you to this resolution, and I'll read it for council's benefit. Be it resolved that the Village of Lions Bay Council appoints the positions of Public Works Manager and Building Inspector as bylaw enforcement officers of the village. If I could have a mover and seconder, and then I'll ask Mr. McGradu just to make comment, if you would. A mover. Thank you, Councillor McLaughlin, and a seconder, Councillor Ando. Mr. McGradu?
Madam Mayor, as you know, we've appointed the bylaw inspector, and he's here on weekends and certain other times that we work out with him. In order to have coverage during the day and on certain other times, what we're going to do is, council needs to appoint the public works manager and building inspector, and they're going to assist. And if there's particular issues, they have the ability, once council approves this, and they've taken certain courses, and that is something that they're working on, or they will be working on, then they will be able to issue any tickets and take it through the North Shore, I can't remember what it's called now.
Ticketing process.
Ticketing process,
it does
right.
have an official
Right.
name. Thank you very much. And this is actually just to let council know that our previous public works managers did have that, and so this is just a great thing. So thank you very much for bringing that forward. If I could call any discussion or comments. Yes, Councillor Ando.
So A few residents have asked me when the email came out with regards to the bylaw enforcement officer about the hours and what and why those hours were chosen, and I'm sorry I didn't know the answer to that. And maybe you could provide more background on the hours of the bylaw enforcement officer.
The contract position,
Yes.
the hours for these people are going to be during the day and other times, so we will have bylaw coverage during the day. That particular person,
Brent Lowen?
Brent Lowen, is because of his work schedule, because he's got a full-time job as well, plus budget, and what we believed was the most, the busiest times, I guess, on the weekends.
Yeah, and that certainly conforms, maybe I can just add here, so for your extended information as well, thread of information is that it conforms with the times that we began it, and that was former councillor Pete Jakerhelm really did all that homework as to when it was needed and consulted with the community, etc., and that seemed to work very well. And although we haven't consulted, that's where it seems to be needed. And at this time of the year, if we have any activity that is of a pre-grad nature at the beach park, if you could just advise Brent Lowen that we close that down right away. And with the official closing of our parks, it doesn't mean that if you were at a park, that's fine, but with the official closing time of 10 o'clock, it allows us to bring in the RCMP as needed. Without that bylaw, we would not be able to bring in the RCMP after 10 o'clock. But we do try and seasonally close things down, and we're successful. When we weren't doing it, it meant that Lions Bay could become a party area for the kids during the year. And there's two reasons why we don't want that. One, it's just bad news in terms of park cleanup and kids stepping on those metal tabs. It really hurts little feet and cuts little feet. And the second reason is we've got inexperienced drivers that, unbeknownst to them, are both getting on the highway, and they're not safe to do so. So those two reasons. So if you could let them know, and it is this time of year where we get a first, and we always like to make that the last. So
Good points.
okay. If I can, just bring us forward through bylaws to number 11, correspondence, and have council move receipt of correspondence.
We have a call question.
Pardon me. Oh, we have a called question. Called question on the motion. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you so much. If we can move receipt of correspondence, could I have council move and second? Thank you. Councillor Ronstein, Councillor Ando. All those in favor of receipt? Carried unanimously. If we can then go on to the listing, and we'll just start with Mr. McRadu, interim CAO, and I think it's number 1 that you're drawing our attention to for a resolution from council. So Mr. McRadu.
Madam Mayor, this is the appointment on the board for ECOM, and I believe that Mayor Masato has been appointed, I guess, between the North Shore, and now that we're a member of ECOM, they're asking that we support his appointment to the board.
Okay, and I have, I think council's aware that I have consulted with council and with Councillor Bain on this, and Councillor Bain would like to support Mayor Masato's continuation. And Mayor Masato is a BC ambulance driver, I don't know if you know that, attendant, and so takes that special knowledge to that role as well. So if I can, if council is willing, if I can just see your heads nod or something, okay, that the Village of Lions Bay Council resolve to support the nomination of Mayor Daryl Masato, City of North Vancouver, as the ECOM 9/11 Board of Directors representative for the North Shore communities. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Ronsley and Councillor Ando. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. If we can move along then, we've dealt with number 9, if we can move along to number 11. And while this was a press release, I read the press release from John Weston about National Life Jacket and Swim Day, and we see in that press release that 400 people every year die in Canada of drowning deaths. And so we know that it's just a good time of the year to highlight, maybe when our electronics are up and running, just a good time to highlight the benefit of a personal flotation device, a PFD, and which they're calling a life jacket. So here in BC, the kids learn it as a PFD, a personal flotation device, a life jacket. And that just being sensitive in your enjoyment during the swim season, to your safety as well. Yes?
Madam, just on even though this is regarding National Life Jacket, there was an email we received today about ticks in the area, and there are some concerns. I spent a few minutes looking at the Ministry of Health website, and they actually have quite a nice, I guess, welcome to summer document, and it talks about a number of different things, including be safe on the water, how to deal with watching fire and things like that, and conserving water and things like that. So what I'm going to suggest is that, like we did for preparing for winter, we can do an e-post out and preparing for summer, and just to be safe.
Okay, fantastic. So if council is all in agreement, thank you very much for that, and thank you for doing the follow-up regarding ticks. There are some years when ticks are more prevalent, and this is a moist year, even though we've had relative good weather, so I wasn't surprised to see that actually. But it is something to highlight. If we can move along then to the incoming correspondence from our Lions Bay residents, and as Councillor Ronsley noted earlier, that there has been a coyote sighting, and there have been coyote sightings, but there is a coyote that is not sort of backing off normally and that kind of thing. And so I know staff are aware of that, and I really appreciate staff having set aside the time for the Bear Smart training. I just think that's been fantastic. So, and thank you, Councillor McLaughlin, also for setting aside your time for the Bear Smart training. If there's nothing more on the coyote sighting, if I can take us to the next letter, regarding dogs on leash signage, and just that maybe, and you possibly again have done this, Mr. McGradu, but just direct maybe the resident to the literature that we've found. Yeah.
The worship, I've already done that. I think the resident's satisfied with the work done by the exploratory document.
Okay, and I was aware that you had, and just wanted to make sure that that was an official statement here. That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Councillor McGradu, Councillor McLaughlin, the Max. And then looking at the resident parking sign, this is, there's the next two are both resident parking signs. One following up from the other resident. I know that with number 4 that resident has been well communicated with. Just to confirm that resident, the third letter has been followed up to Mr. Martin Richmond.
Responded to a few. Well, I have to make sure that I do that.
If you could, because the letter specifically does ask for a response. And it's really speaking to Mr. Hurst and asking for a response from the village.
I'm pretty sure, I responded to Mr. Martin.
Yeah, fantastic. So with that, I'm going to move us along, if I may, to new business, the audited financial statement. And this is just really for to bring onto the public document. And it will go up on the website if it's not already up on the website. Do you know, Mr. McGradu, whether it is already up on the website, the audited financial statement?
They, actually, I don't know.
Okay,
This
so
is part of the package.
It'll be
it's the same as.
Yeah, we just received. So I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
yeah,
that's fantastic.
We just received it today.
Oh, okay. So do we need to move receipt of this as the final document?
No, because council's already approved it.
Okay, fantastic. So it's, any discussion there? Okay, I'm going to move us along. It's a good news story. Move us along to B, Infrastructure Committee recommendations. And Mr. McGradu and I meet normally Mondays, but today it was Tuesday due to the holiday and my being away over the weekend. And discussed that this will go into Mr. McGradu and staff's hands. Okay, thank you very much. And any further discussion on that? I'll go to public comment, public questions and comments. Yes, Ms. Conlon.
I appreciate you taking your minutes tonight because I did point out to Mandy that there was an error in the minutes and I copied council at that time. Since then, I've had a further exchange with Mandy and I also offered her, but I think she's busy, I offered her the video at the point where Mr. McGradu did turn on the green waste, and so that's the part that your
Fantastic.
audio captures. Most certainly, Michael did start talking at the green waste, and he talked about, and he gave a bit of a background. But what I told the council in the beginning about the embellishment, where what is attributed to him as saying the condominium owners pay a household fee the same as every other community member, but the village provides a bin to collect the garbage. That was never said at your meeting on May the 6th. Not by Mr. Broughton, not by Mr. McGradu, not by me, and not by anybody, and it's all there. So I know that Mr. McGradu has been researching the snow plowing. I also visited the office and looked at the 2009 correspondence, and I can see that Alice Tickner came in January about the snow plowing, and council asked her in 2009 to come back in the fall. I don't think she came back in the fall, but I think there was a letter. And the letter in 2009, they referred to it as number 37, number 55, number whatever, and it said Corner will answer these, Rory Mandrick will answer these, and I believe the letter of November 2009 that talks about snow plowing is the one that Rory wrote, but the correspondence didn't tie up with the letters. And because the office is moving, I'm not going to research that, but that's basically what I told Mandy. Okay.
Okay.
So here is the video of what happened. The rest of your audio has everything that happened at the end of the meeting. And most certainly, I raised the question about Box 815 and 851 PCS strata. Are they one and the same? Nobody seemed to know. That was another thing they were going to look into. So, and it did relate to snow plowing letter. So I may have added to the confusion, but most certainly your own audio.
Yeah,
That's
not
fine.
at this point. No decision.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say to
And the rest of this,
Linda,
which Mandy
Ms.
hasn't been
Kuntz.
shared.
Yeah,
It's not important
KOONTF.
that, you know, I mean, you take in your minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. If I can move us along then, there being nothing further, move adjournment. Could I have council please move adjournment?
I'll do that.
Thank you, Councillor Ronsley, and we're not going to have a seconder, Councillor McLaughlin.
Stay here.
All those in favor?
Getting used to standing. Okay.
Opposed, carried unanimously. Well, that's got to be a wonderful record. So thank you very much to all. And again,